Hello everyone, this is first part video on past year NEET questions from the chapter electrochemistry. We'll start with the question that has come in the NEET 2019. For the cell reaction 2Fe3 plus 2I minus gives rise to 2Fe2 plus I2. So as we can see, this is a balanced cell equation. E0 is 0.24 at 298 Kelvin. E0 is the cell EMF at standard conditions. The standard Gibbs energy del G0 of the cell reaction is. So we need to find what is the standard Gibbs free energy for that particular cell reaction. So if you look at it, we have a straight formula relating the del G0 and E0 cell. So the formula is del G0 will be equal to what? Minus NF E0 cell. And if you look at N, what is this N here? N is the number of electrons exchanged in the cell reaction. So if you see the balanced cell reaction, right, we split it. So the Fe3 plus is undergoing reduction by taking 2 electrons to become Fe2 plus, and similarly the I minus is undergoing oxidation. So the number of electrons exchanged in the reduction part as well as oxidation part will be 2. So in the reduction part 2 electrons will be absorbed, in the oxidation part 2 electrons will be released. So the value of N in this case is equal to what? 2. Now F is Faraday constant, the value is given to us approximately 96,500 coulomb per mole. So all we need to do is just substitute. So N is 2, Faraday constant we have, and E0 is what? 0.24. So if you substitute it, minus 2 into 96,500 into 0.24. So it will be what? This is coulomb per mole and this is volt. So that will be joule per mole. So minus is there, of course. So minus 2 into 0.24 is what? This is like 0.48 into 96,500. So minus is there. If we simplify it, this will be coming as minus 46,320 joule per mole. If you look at these options, they are talking in terms of the kilojoule. So all we need to do is if you have to convert the joule into kilojoule, means we have to divide by 1000. So divide by 1000 means it will become what? Minus 46.32 kilojoule per mole. It's a straight formula question. So the correct answer for this is option B. If we have even the relation between del G and E cell at different conditions, so the formula will be just similar. In that particular situation, wherever we are measuring the del G value will be equal to what? Minus N into F into E cell. Standard conditions means it will be minus del G0 is equal to minus NF E0. So at any condition it will be what? Del G is equal to minus NF E cell. Standard conditions means just both the Gibbs free energy will be at standard conditions and E cell also will be at the standard conditions. So generally when we represent this notation not, it will mean what? We are looking at the standard conditions. So standard conditions for the the electrochemistry part of it will be thermodynamic standard conditions. Means we look at a temperature of 298 Kelvin and a pressure of 1 bar, and the ions concentration in the solutions rate will be 1 molar. So let's move on to the next question. This is another question that has come in 2019 paper. So typically we will get like 2 questions from this chapter. For a cell involving 1 electron, means the number of electrons exchanged is what? 1. E0 value is 0.59 volt at 298 Kelvin. The equilibrium constant for the cell reaction is. So we need to find what is the equilibrium constant for the cell reaction. So what is given to us is extra information is 2.303 RT by F is given as what? 0.059 volt at 298 Kelvin. So if you remember the Nernst equation. So the Nernst equation is what? E cell is equal to E0 cell minus RT by NF ln QC. QC is what? The reaction quotient for the cell reaction. Okay, and if we convert this into decimal logarithm, so the formula will be E cell is equal to E naught cell minus 2.303 RT by N into F log QC. So here what they are saying is at 298 Kelvin the value of 2.303 RT by F, this value 2.303 RT by F value is what? 0.059 volt. So that is what we have as the formula for the cell EMF when we maintain the temperature to be same as 298 Kelvin. So what will be the formula? E cell is equal to E naught cell minus 0.059 by N into log QC. So if we reach equilibrium stage, then it means what? The E cell value will be 0 and the reaction quotient value will become equal to what? Equilibrium constant. That is what we need to find. We need to find what is the equilibrium constant at the condition. So if you look at E naught becoming 0 and Q becoming Kc, the expression will be what? I mean, this is LHS is 0. So if you bring this E naught cell to the LHS means that will become minus. That will become what? Minus E naught cell. Already there is a minus here, minus is cancelled. So what we will be having is E naught cell is equal to 0.059 by N into log Kc. But what is the N value? They are saying that the cell reaction is involving 1 electron, means N is equal to 1. So 0.59 is equal to what? E naught cell is given as 0.59. 0.59 is equal to 0.059 by 1 into log Kc. So if you see this, if you bring the 0.059 to the LHS, it will come to the denominator. 0.059 is equal to log Kc. So this is what? So 10 will be log Kc, which means what? Logarithm is basically the decimal logarithm. So if log of Kc is 10, it means what? Kc will be equal to 10 to the power of 10. So the correct answer for this is option D. Again, this is another straightforward question on the Nernst equation. Next we have a question that has come in 2019 NEET Odisha paper. This question is based on the Kohlrausch law. Following limiting molar conductivities are given. So the limiting molar conductivity means the conductivity at infinite dilution. So limiting molar conductivity means what? The conductivity at infinite dilution. So the limiting molar conductivity of H2SO4 is X, Siemens centimeter square per mole. Generally, in electrochemistry we always will have the dimensions of length, whether we are talking about the specific conductivity or molar conductivity. Always we'll have the dimensions of length to be in centimeters. The limiting molar conductivity lambda naught of H2SO4 is given as what? X, and K2SO4 is given as what? Y. CH3COOK potassium acetate is given as what? Z. Using this we need to find lambda naught for acetic acid. See, we need to understand what is the Kohlrausch law basic outline. So Kohlrausch law outline is what? If we have any electrolyte at infinite dilution, it will undergo complete dissociation, which means in case of acetic acid, right, it is going to produce, if you take 1 mole of the acetic acid, it will give 1 mole of CH3COO minus and 1 mole of H plus. So the limiting molar conductivity lambda naught for the acetic acid will be equal to what? Molar conductivity of acetate ions plus molar conductivity of the H plus ions. So this expression value is what we need to get. And to get it, what is the information we have in our hand? We have these three terms given to us. The limiting molar conductivity of H2SO4. So if you look at H2SO4, right, it dissociates to give us 2 H plus ions and 1 sulfate ion. Means the Kohlrausch law limiting molar conductivity formula will be what? It will be 2 times the molar conductivity of the H plus ions plus molar conductivity of the sulfate ions. That is going to be our X. X is the limiting molar conductivity of sulfuric acid. K2SO4 on dissociation gives 2 K plus ions and 1 sulfate ion. So the limiting molar conductivity of K2SO4 will be what? 2 times the molar conductivity of the K plus ions plus the molar conductivity of the sulfate ions. That is our Y. Then we have Z. What is Z? The limiting molar conductivity of potassium acetate. So this will give us what? Potassium ions and acetate ions, 1 mole and 1 mole on dissociation. So the limiting molar conductivity of potassium acetate Z will be equal to what? the molar conductivity of the acetate ions plus the molar conductivity of the potassium ions. Now if you look at what we are trying to get, we are trying to get the value of the molar conductivity of acetate ions plus molar conductivity of the H plus ions. So this Kohlrausch law problems, right, they are more of a math application problems than anything. So what we need to do is, we have like three equations here, we have to make a combination of them, addition, subtraction, suitable factor multiplication, etc., so that we will finally find what is the value of this term, the molar conductivity of acetate ions plus molar conductivity of the H plus ions. If you look at equation 1 and 2, right, both of them are featuring sulfate ions, which is not required for us. So if you do equation 1 minus equation 2, right, what we are going to get, the sulfate ions will be cancelled. LHS part will be what? 2 times the lambda naught of H plus minus lambda naught of K plus, that will be equal to our x minus y. Okay, so from here we will get lambda naught of H plus minus lambda naught of K plus will be what? X minus y divided by 2. Now if you see, if we add, so let us call it as equation 4 for that matter. So if we add 4 and 3, right, check it, if we add 4 and 3, so in 3 what we have? Acetate ion molar conductivity plus potassium. Here in 4 we have minus potassium, right? So if we add both of them, what we are going to get? The potassium and minus potassium is cancelled. We will be having the molar conductivity of the H plus and molar conductivity of the CH3COO minus. So left hand side what we will have? The molar conductivity of the H plus plus the molar conductivity of the CH3COO minus. RHS is what? X minus y by 2 plus Z. So the correct answer for this is what? Option D. So always in Kohlrausch law problems, it's a typical model of question where we will be given some electrolytes, and by expressing the limiting molar conductivity formula for these electrolytes, right, we will be supposed to find the limiting molar conductivity of unknown electrolyte. So we also write down the expression, like in the case we are writing down the expression for limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid, and we have to see how we can get this particular expression by using some algebraic techniques. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. This is another question that has come in the Odisha 2019 paper. The standard electrode potential E naught. So all these are what? Whenever we say standard electrode potential, we are talking about the reduction potentials. Aluminium, silver, potassium, chromium. What are these values? Minus 1.66, 0.8, minus 2.93, minus 0.74 respectively. The correct decreasing order of reducing power. See, in all these questions, right, when they talk about oxidizing power, reducing power of these metals or elements, first thing that we need to do, when they give us the reduction potential values, first thing we have to do is, we express them the way they appear in the electrode potential series. So how do we arrange them in the electrode potential series? In the standard electrode potential series, we will have the high reduction potential at the top and low reduction potential at the bottom. So in between we have 0, which is our standard hydrogen electrode. Okay, so now we just have to arrange them. So then the analysis will start. So first look at this, which is the highest among them. So we have to also consider the sign, which is the highest among them. The second one you can see 0.8. What is it? Silver. So first is what? Silver, that is 0.8. Okay, then all are negative. So the least negative is what? This one is the least negative, minus 0.74. Then comes minus 0.74, that will be below hydrogen, of course. It will be what? The chromium. Then comes minus 1.66, which is aluminium. Then comes the last below, very at bottom, minus 2.93, which is our potassium. Alkali metals and alkaline earth metals, right, they will have reduction potentials to be highly negative. Okay, so now when you arrange them as the way they appear in the electrode potential series, right, now the analysis is simple. The ones at the top, they will easily undergo reduction, and the ones at the bottom, they can easily undergo oxidation. So this is the first analysis we will be able to have. Now let us come to the question what they are asking. They are asking the correct decreasing order of the reducing power. So we have to arrange them in high reducing power to low reducing power. See, whenever a metal is able to easily undergo oxidation, right, means if it is able to easily undergo oxidation means it can easily reduce others, isn't it? Means what? It's reducing power, because when any material is able to easily undergo oxidation means it is able to easily it is able to easily reduce the others, means its reducing power is high. That's why the alkali metals, right, their reducing power is high. They are asking arrange them in the decreasing order of reducing power. So where we will have high reducing power is at the bottom. So decreasing order of reducing power means what will be the order? We have to come from bottom to top, that's it. Potassium more than aluminum more than chromium more than silver. So what is the correct answer for this? Option B. So all these questions, right, whenever they give us the electrode potentials and ask us to comment on the reducing power, sometimes they can ask oxidizing power, etc. So whatever the analysis they will ask, we have to first begin by arranging them as they appear in the electrode potential series. So high reducing power is at the bottom, high oxidizing power will be at the top. High reducing power will be at the bottom means high oxidizing power will be at the top. That's why most of the non-metals, right, the halogen elements, they will be sitting at almost the top of the electrode potential series. So their oxidizing power will be high. Clear? So this is about a question that has come in the 2019 DISA paper. Next we have a question which is also based on the Nernst equation. This model of question has come in multiple years. In the electrochemical cell, zinc to zinc sulfate, copper sulfate to copper, the EMF of the Daniell cell is what? E1. So what is this? This is the Daniell cell. So what is the Daniell cell? The zinc will act as an anode and copper will act as a cathode. So what is the overall cell reaction? Zinc solid plus the copper ions in solution will give rise to zinc 2 plus in solution plus copper solid. This is the Daniell cell reaction, and the number of electrons exchange will be what? 2. In the Daniell cell, number of electrons exchange will be 2. So for this cell reaction, right, the Q value, reaction quotient value will be what? The product ions concentration by reactant ion concentration. See, it will be what? The Zn2 plus concentration divided by the Cu2 plus concentration. So we will consider, while writing the QC expression, we will consider the active mass of copper solid and zinc solid to be 1. Why? Because they are solids. Like the way we have this in the equilibrium analysis, right? Whenever we have solids, the solid active mass will be taken as what? 1. So that's why only the ions will feature in the reaction quotient expression. Now why we are writing the reaction quotient expression? Because this comes in the Nernst equation. Okay, so now let's come back to question. So when you have zinc sulfate 0.01 molar, means that is zinc 2 plus concentration. Copper sulfate 1 molar means that is copper 2 plus concentration. So at these concentrations the EMF is what? E1. When the concentrations of zinc sulfate is changed to 1 and copper sulfate is changed to 0.01, means they are interchanged. The EMF is changing to E2. From the following, we have to get the relation between E1 and E2. Means we have to conclude whether E1 is less than E2 or E1 is more than E2 or E1 is equal to E2 or E2 equal to 0, which is not equal to E1. Basically, we have to understand what is the relation between E1 and E2. Now, first of all, these E1 and E2, right, they are themselves related to the E0 of the Daniell cell by the Nernst equation. So what is it? If you look at the Nernst equation, right, so E cell, so assuming, because they have not talked about the temperature conditions, we will assume that the temperature is not changed. Temperature is 298 Kelvin itself. So what is the Nernst equation? E cell is equal to E0 cell minus, this is the formula that we use at the 298 Kelvin temperature, right? E0 cell minus 0.059 by N into log QC. This is QC. Already we have seen the expression of QC, how it comes. It comes from the cell equation. Now in this expression, right, if you substitute zinc 2 plus as 0.01 and copper as 1, that is our E1 value, isn't it? So what is our E1 value going to be? E0 minus 0.059 by n is 2, okay, into log of 0.01, that is Zn2 plus concentration by 1. So what is 0.01 means 10 power minus 2. Log of 10 power minus 2 means minus 2 it is. Log of 10 power minus 2 means it is minus 2. So minus minus is cancelled. What we'll have is and 2 is cancelled. So E1 is equal to what? E0 plus 0.059. So E1 will be E0 plus 0.059. I'll just rub this part so that we can use this space for other calculation. Now what we need to do, we have to find out what is our E2 value. So if we are able to find the E2 means we can compare. So what is E2 value? The concentrations are interchanged. So E2 will be E0 minus 0.059 by 2 log of, so here the Zn2 plus is 1 and copper 2 plus is 0.01, right? So what is 1 by 0.01? This is like 100. Log 100 is what? 2. So if you get 2 here means 2 and 2 is cancelled. So E2 is what? E0 minus 0.059, which tells us that E1 means E0 we are adding some number. E2 means what? E0 we are subtracting some number. So the relation that we can clearly say is E1 is going to be definitely more than E2. Whatever be the value of E0. So E1 is what? E0 plus something, right? And E2 is what? E0 minus something. So the E1 value will be definitely more than E2. So the correct relation is option B. So this question we are able to solve by using the Nernst equation. Next we have a question that has come in paper 2 of 2016. The molar conductivity of 0.5 mole per decimeter cube solution of AgNO3 means what is this? This is the concentration given to us. This is actually the molar concentration. Why? Decimeter cube is nothing but liter only. So it is what? 0.5 moles per liter means 0.5 molarity. That is our AgNO3 concentration. Okay. So what do we need to find? We need to find the molar conductivity lambda m. The molar conductivity of 0.5 molar AgNO3 solution with electrolytic conductivity of 5.76 into 10 power minus 3 Siemens per centimeter. So this is our specific conductivity kappa. So kappa value is given as what? 5.76 into 10 power minus 3 Siemens per centimeter. If you look at the options for the molar conductivity, right, they are also having the unit of length in centimeter. Now this is a very specific thing for electrochemistry, where we use the dimensions of length to be in centimeter. Why? Because most of the electrochemical cells, they will be having, or electrolytic cells, they will be having dimensions of the setup in terms of centimeter. So that is the reason why we always carry the centimeter and we will not go for the SI unit meter. Now here what is the relation? So we have a formula. What is the formula? The formula is lambda m. The molar conductivity will be equal to what? Kappa into 1000 by molarity. So this is the standard formula that we will have. But how this formula comes? See, lambda m will be kappa into volume in centimeter cube that contains 1 mole of electrolyte. Okay, see, 1 by molarity, right, it gives us volume in liter that contains 1 mole of electrolyte. We have to multiply this by 1000, then only we will get the volume in centimeter cube. So if we get the volume in centimeter cube, this is, the volume that contains 1 mole. So if you multiply this with kappa, right, what is the kappa? Kappa unit is what? Siemens per centimeter. So Siemens per centimeter into centimeter cube per mole. So what we are going to get? We will get Siemens centimeter square per mole. So that will be the unit of the molar conductivity. So that's how this formula kappa into 1000 by molarity comes, because this formula is by considering the units of these quantities to be having length in centimeter. Now it's a straight substitution. What is the kappa value? 5.76 into 10 power minus 3 into 1000 is there. 10 power minus 3000 cancel. So this is like what? 1 by 0.5 is, so if you do 1 by 0.5 means that is what? 2. So 5.76 into 2 will be what? It will be 11.52. So 11.52 Siemens centimeter square per mole. So the correct answer for this is option B. It's a straight formula question. Formula that relates the molar conductivity to the specific conductance kappa and then the molar concentration. If you talk about the equivalent conductivity rate, so the lambda equivalent, in that case the formula will be kappa into 1000 by normality. So there it is, the kappa value multiplied by volume of the solution that contains one equivalent of the electrolyte. There also the volume will be in centimeter cube. Let's move on to the next question. This is another question that has come in NEET paper 2 of 2016. During the electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, means molten sodium chloride means there will be only Na plus ions and Cl minus ions. The time required to produce 0.1 mole of chlorine gas. So we have to produce 0.1 mole of chlorine gas using a current of 3 amperes. So this question, right, will be solved by using the charge balance method. So how do we solve this question? We will solve the question by using the charge balance method. What is the charge balance method? If you look at what is happening at the anode, so chlorine gas will be produced at the anode. So anions will get discharged at the anode, right? So 2 chloride ions, they will release electrons to form chlorine molecule. Means for every 1 molecule of chlorine, we require 2 electrons. So 1 mole of chlorine, right, will be requiring 2 moles of electrons. To produce 1 mole of chlorine gas will require 2 moles of electrons. And we are not requiring 1 mole actually, we are requiring how much? 0.1 mole. So for 0.1 mole of Cl2, what is the number of electrons will require? Just double that. See, 1 mole requires 2 moles, right? So 0.1 mole requires what? 0.2 moles of electrons. So this much electrons will be required. And 0.2 mole of electrons, what is the corresponding charge? 1 mole of electrons means the charge will be Faraday's 96,500 coulombs, right, into, this is 1 mole. How many moles we require? 0.2 moles, right? So we have to just multiply by 0.2. So this is our charge, total charge value. This we are obtaining by passing some current. So what is the current formula? Sorry, what is the charge formula? Charge is equal to current into time. So current is given as 3 amperes. We can find the time. Of course, since charge is in coulomb and current is in ampere, time will be coming in what? SI unit seconds. So time will be equal to what? 96,500 into 0.2 by 3. So this is the time that comes in seconds. But if you check the options, right, they are all talking in terms of minutes. Means we want to have time minutes, means we should divide this by 60. Then we will get the time value in minutes. If we simplify it, right, the value will be coming approximately 108. So if you see the closest answer, right, what is the closest answer? It is option B, which is around 110 minutes. So all that we are doing in this question is charge balance. We are seeing what is the number of electrons required for the production of 0.1 mole of chlorine, that we are getting from the chlorine discharge equation. Then this much electrons means what is the corresponding charge? We will know number of moles of electrons multiplied by Faraday constant, and the charge has to be supplied by passing current, means we use the formula charge is equal to current into time. And then they are asking for time in minutes, we will just convert it into minutes. Clear? So it's a very standard kind of question that we can expect based on the Faraday's laws of electrolysis. Next we have another question. This model of question has also come in multiple years. If the E0 cell of a given reaction has a negative value, means E0 cell is having negative value, which of the following given is the correct relation for the values of del G0 and equilibrium constant? See, first we need to find what is the relation between these terms. What is the relation? We know that del G0 will be equal to what? Minus NF E naught cell. N is what? Number of electrons exchanged in the cell equation. It may be 1, it may be 2, it may be 3. F is a Faraday constant. So both are what? Positive. Now here what they are saying is the E naught cell is negative. So if the E naught cell is negative means negative is what? Positive. So what we'll have is del G will be positive. So straight away if we see, either it has to be option A or option B, because only option A and option B are saying del G is what? Positive. So del G naught is what? Positive. So now the question is, what about the equilibrium constant? So if you look at the Nernst equation, right, what is the Nernst equation? E cell is equal to E naught cell minus 2.303 RT by NF log QC or Q. So if we reach the equilibrium stage, then E naught will be 0 and Q will become equal to what? The equilibrium constant. So means if you bring it to the LHS, minus E naught cell is equal to what? Minus 2.303 RT by NF log equilibrium. So minus minus is cancelled. So E naught cell into NF by 2.303 RT. So everything will bring it to the left hand side. So remaining is only what? On the RHS we have just log of equilibrium constant. So if you look at this, N is a number, N may be 1 or 2, F is a Faraday constant, it will be positive, R is the gas constant which will be positive, T is the absolute temperature, that also will be positive. The only thing that will be negative here is the E naught cell, means the overall LHS part is what? LHS part overall is what? Negative. So log of equilibrium constant is negative. Remember, whenever log of any number is negative, that means the value of the number will be what? Less than 1. Because log 1 is 0, right? Log 1 is 0. Any number less than 1 means the logarithm value will be negative. So here what we can say, the equilibrium constant value will be less than 1. So if you see what is the correct answer, del G naught will be positive and equilibrium constant will be less than 1. So the correct answer is option A. Next we have another question based on the Faraday's laws of electrolysis. The number of electrons delivered at the cathode during the electrolysis by a current of 1 ampere in 60 seconds is, they are giving us charge on electron, basic charge 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. It's a very even straightforward question. So what is it? They are saying there is an electrolysis being performed with a current of 1 ampere in 60 seconds. Means what will be the charge formula? Charge is equal to I into T. So 1 ampere into time is what? 60 seconds. That will be equal to what? 60 coulombs. That is the charge. Now this charge will be delivered in the form of electrons. They are asking what is the number of electrons delivered. See, when the charge is coming in the form of, say for example, n number of electrons. Let E is the basic charge, charge of electron. Then what we say? Total charge delivered will be equal to what? Number of electrons into charge of each electron, n into E. So we just have to equate both of them. Equation 1, equation 2, both of them are same, right? So 60 coulombs is equal to what? N into basic charge value. What is basic charge value? 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. From here if you bring it to the LHS means 60 by 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 is equal to N. 60 by 1.6 into 10 power 19 is equal to N. This means we can write as 6 by 1.6 into 10 power 20 is equal to N. 6 by 1.6 will be 3.75. So the number of electrons delivered, it's a straightforward question, will be equal to what? 3.75 into 10 power 20. What are we doing here? Just looking at what is the total charge coming and using the equation, total charge is equal to number of electrons into charge of each electron. That's it. From there we are getting what is the number of electrons. Next we have a question that is based on galvanization. Zinc can be coated on iron to produce galvanized iron. So now why do we do this? We do this to prevent the rusting of iron. So zinc of course is a more reactive metal than iron. So it will act as a sacrificial metal. So when zinc is forming a coating over the iron, right, first the zinc will react with atmospheric oxygen to form zinc oxide. But unlike iron oxide will peel off, rust, it will come out. The zinc oxide will stick to the surface. So it will prevent further corrosion of the surface of the metal, because the zinc oxide will be sticking to the surface, which will not happen in the case of the iron oxide. Okay, so now the question is not about how the galvanization works, the question is something different. So look at the question. Zinc can be coated on iron to produce galvanized iron, but the reverse is not possible. It is because of. So here this is a slightly a tricky question. We can also call it as a misleading question. The reason is it is not like we will never be able to coat iron on zinc. We can coat iron on zinc, but it depends upon what is the method we are choosing. Here they are asking by the electroplating method. So the method that they are referring to is what? Electroplating method. Generally there are two methods of coating zinc on iron. One is called as hot dip method. So this is nothing to do with the electrochemistry. Hot dip method is, if you have a hot bath of zinc, take any iron plate or any iron vessel or any iron device, just dip it into the hot zinc bath and then take it out. You will see a layer of zinc will be formed on the surface of iron. That method is called as what? Hot dip method. So we are not referring to that, we are referring to the electroplating method. So what is this electroplating method? So electroplating is a method that is used for the coating of zinc on the surface of iron. So what is the procedure involved in the electroplating method? So in the zinc electroplating, right, we use the substrate, in this case iron. So on whichever you want to coat zinc, right, the substrate will be put as a cathode. So this is the cathode. The substrate will be put as the cathode, and the zinc will be acting as the anode, and we'll have a solution of zinc 2 plus ions. We'll have a solution of zinc 2 plus ions. Now what happens when we perform the electrolysis is, the zinc ions will undergo the reduction at the cathode, and they will be forming a layer on the surface of the cathode. So when the zinc is undergoing reduction, right, it will form zinc solid on the surface of the cathode. So this is the basic method that is used in the electroplating. So electroplating, always we should have the substrate, because that is where the metal will be deposited, right. The substrate should be able to act as a cathode, and the metal that is used for the coating is used as the anode. That is the setup. Okay, now here, and the solution also will contain the metal which has to be used for coating, right. That is what will be the solution ions also, in this case zinc. If you look at it, what favors this? What favors this is, if you observe the electrode potentials of zinc and iron. These are the standard electrode potentials of zinc and iron. So the zinc standard electrode potential is what? Minus 0.76. Iron is what? Minus 0.44. So means if you just look at them, minus 0.44 is iron above, minus 0.76 is zinc below. So iron can act as a cathode and zinc can act as an anode. That is how this is feasible. Now if we have to interchange, then the substrate here has to be what? Zinc. So zinc has to act as a cathode. Can zinc act as a cathode? Zinc cannot act as a cathode. When iron is there, iron will be able to act as a cathode and zinc will be able to act as an anode. So that is the reason why we will not be able to interchange these two. So understand the basic principle. Here, whatever the substrate on which we require coating, right, that particular metal should act as a cathode, and that is possible because iron has a higher reduction potential than zinc, or zinc has more negative electrode potential than iron, because that is why zinc is able to act as an anode and iron is able to act as a cathode. That is the required setup. If instead we want to use the zinc as the cathode and iron as anode, it is not going to work, because zinc has higher negative electrode potential than iron, because zinc will only be able to act as an anode, iron will only be able to act as a cathode. That is the reason why reversing of this, right, is not possible. So when you look at this question, what we need to keep in mind is, this question is asked in the context of electrochemistry. Otherwise, generally speaking, right, can we form a coating of iron on surface of zinc? Means we can coat. We can go for the hot dip method, where all we have to do is prepare hot bath of iron, take a zinc material, just dip this into the iron hot bath and take it out. So the advantage of the electroplating method is it will be able to form a very thin layer. The hot dip method usually gives uneven surface coating, and also the thickness of the layer will be very high. That will be a wastage of the metal as such. So that is the reason why the electroplating method is preferred. So not only in the case of the zinc electroplating of iron, even for the electroplating of precious metals like gold electroplating on some surfaces. So because they will form a very thin layer. So the correct answer for this is option D. So this is about the part 1 video, and we'll see in the part 2.